All right. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever in the world you are watching from. Or if you're watching this recording in the future, good day to you as well. My name is GOB, and I'm the host of Learn Around the World's Meets a Local. And we have a very special local with us today, Juliana. I'm going to let her say hello and introduce herself. Hi, Juliana.
Hi, hello, Brandon. Hi, everyone. This is Juliana. I'm in Colombia right now, and I'm going to be your host for today. So thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for being here with us. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have two more open spots. So if you, just a reminder for the classrooms watching outside, so whenever I say outside, I mean you are not on camera right now. We'll let 3 classrooms on at any given time. I have 2 open spots right now. If you have the proper permissions and you would like to come on camera to ask questions live, just let me know in the chat box, and I will bring you into the room. We'll rotate classes in and out so we can get as many questions as we can to Juliana. All right. So today's Meet a Local is Juliana from Colombia, and today's show is brought to you by Learn Around the World. Today is an interactive show, so that means you can send in questions live via Twitter at #LearnATW. So that's #LearnATW. Later in the show, we will have a in-show quiz, and that is at Kahoot. So if you go to kahoot.it, you can punch in 598034, and we're going to have a 5-question quiz later in the show. And the winner student or classroom will get a postcard from Juliana. How cool is that? We're going to introduce our guest classrooms that are in with us right after we learn about where are we going today. We're going to visit Juliana, which she said is live in Colombia. Juliana, where are you going to show us today?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So you have some pictures to show us of Cartagena?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about, well, Colombia in general, but one of my favorite cities in Colombia. I live in Medellin, but one of my favorite cities is Cartagena. It's on the coast. Beautiful, beautiful city. It's got the modern side and the old side, which is a little bit like Puerto Rico. So it's one of my favorite cities. I love it, and I think it's pretty cool. So it's one of the places that I think you definitely have to visit if you ever come to Colombia.
All right, so that's where we're going to head today, and let's go ahead and head over to Mrs. Hart's class. Can you guys tell us where you're watching from, and do you have a question for Juliana?
Okay. Hello, we are from Illinois. We're in the United States. We are from a small community called Sterling, and we are a school of about 400 plus kids, 3rd grade through 5th grade. So we're excited. I'm a little disappointed. I don't have a stable connection. So unfortunately, we are Wi-Fi'd in on the internet. And next time I will do better and try to find a way to connect, because you're coming in and out, and that's totally my fault. So, but we're glad to have to be with you. And who has a question for our friend from Colombia? Brianna, you come up first. Say your name like we do when we Skype. Hi, my name is. Come on.
Hi, my name is Brianna DuPoint. My name is Brianna DuPoint, and I wanted to ask, what is the weather like?
What is it?
What is the weather like in your city?
Well, in Colombia, we don't have seasons as you do in the States. We don't have the regular winter, summer, blah, blah, blah. we have pretty much the same weather during the whole year, but it depends on the city where you live. So we have, for example, Bogota, which is the capital. It's a really cold city. You can go between 13 and 15, 17 centigrades. But if you go up to the coast, it's going to be really humid during the whole year. And in Medellin, for example, where I live, it's actually called the Eternal Spring City, because it looks like spring all the time. It's kind of hot, it's chilly, it's really cool. It's got a really cool weather because you can wear shorts and you can wear like you're in summer all the time. So it's pretty cool.
Great question, guys. And we'll send it back over to Mrs. Hart's classroom, and you guys can send in or pick another student to ask another question. Again, if you are viewing this currently live, that means you are not on camera with us, and you have a question for Juliana in Colombia, then either type it in the chat box or send it to me on Twitter at #LearnATW. So that's for Learn Around the World, #LearnATW. And let's go over back to Mrs. Hart's classroom. All right, do you have another question?
Hi, mine's Bunting. What part of Colombia are you in?
All right, did you catch that, Juliana?
No.
What part of Colombia are you in? What part of Colombia are you in?
Okay, I live in Medellin, which is like the second city in the country. It's a very big city. We're approximately 4 million people, and it's as I was saying, it's got a really cool weather, and it's a city located between a valley. So when you come in the plane, you can see the mountains, and we're right in the middle. It's got mountains all over the place.
All right, and I'm going to, so you guys can see it, I'm going to share a map right now, a Google map, and I'll just zoom in a little bit at a time, and we can see where Juliana is right now. And you said it's in the valley, Juliana?
Yeah, like we're in the middle of the mountain, so wherever you are in the city, you can look everywhere and you can see mountains all over. So we're right in the middle. When you're getting down to the city, from the airport to the city, it's going to be about 1 hour, and you ride in the car, and there's mountains all over the place. So you're actually riding through the mountains.
All right, so I hope that you all can see on the map we have here, if we look around the edge of the city. So the city is in a valley, and if you can see the terrain on Google Maps here, it's completely surrounded by mountains. How cool is that? All right, great question, guys. Do you guys have?
We don't see the map. We don't see the map at all.
You weren't seeing the screen? Okay. Let's try it again. All right, can you see the map now?
The screen just says Brandon Hall has started screen sharing, but we don't actually see anything.
Oh, you can't actually see the screen share? Okay.
Thank you.
This may be because of the weak internet connection, but here, let me zoom back out again. I'll zoom back out again. So if you guys can see the entire country of Colombia, and this red map marker, this is Juliana City. And as I zoom in and we look at the terrain around the city, we can see that over here, these are all mountains. So it's mountains completely surrounding the city. All right, great question, guys. And so Juliana, what is right now, is it, you said it's pretty much the same temperature all year round, but is there a difference because you're in the mountains? Is it cooler where you are than where it is, say, in Cartagena?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, for example, well, it's been raining a lot during this date. So when it rains a lot, that's actually what we call winter. It's just the rainy season when it starts raining a lot. It's not the kind of winter that you guys have in the States with really low temperatures. We just get a lot of rain, but that's it. And the temperature in Medellin can be 20, 22 centigrades, 25. Sometimes it gets really hot, it gets to 28 or something. But right now it's chilly. So right now it's like, let's say 18. I think so. I actually think it's going to rain in a while.
Okay. Um, so we have another classroom joining us in the show. We're going to wait and see if they can turn on their camera. But we do have some questions on Twitter for Juliana. So we have one from Cole from Indiana. Hi, Cole. And he's from Lanesville Schools. And Cole asks, what are some of the big cultural differences between Colombia and the U.S.?
Well, there's one thing that I think is really peculiar. It's you guys, when you turn 16, 17, 18, and you go to college, you leave home, you go and live at your university, at school, or you go live with with friends or something. In Colombia, we're very, very familiar. So we live with our parents for a long time. And some people live with their parents until they get married. We have schools really close. So people just don't go and live by themselves since they are very young. We actually stay a little bit longer with our parents. And we're very, very close to our family. So we get a lot of gathering with families and grandparents and uncles and aunts and things like that. So that's one thing. Well, the language, we speak a different language. We speak Spanish. So that's a big difference. And pretty much we are since we come from kind of the Caribbean side of the world, so we're very, we like to dance a lot, we're very happy, and it's not like you guys are not, it's just that we have, I don't know, some kind of happiness that we express through our bodies and things like that. So yeah, but I always found that living with our parents, it's really a peculiar thing.
All right, and we have another question from Lanesville Schools, and this one comes from Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley, over in Indiana. And she wants to know, what are some typical Colombian dishes that you eat?
Okay, well, we have a lot of food depending on the area where you actually live. So up in the coast, for example, they eat a lot of fresh fish, and it's fried with coconut rice and plantains. I don't know if you guys have those, I'm not sure. It's kind of a banana, but it's salty, and you fry it and you squish it, and it's really, really good. In Medellin, the city where I live, our main food is something that we call bandeja paisa, which is a big plate with a lot of things on it. It's got, that's the fish. That's what we normally eat when we go to the coast. That's the plantain. We call it patacones, coconut rice.
These are plantains?
Yeah.
The fried plantains?
Those, we call them patacones.
And what is the fish called, this dish?
Well, they have different kinds of fish every day, so it depends on the one. You can ask for trucha, you can ask for sierra, you can ask for merluza, many different kinds. And you can have it on the oven, or you can have it fried. The best way to eat it is fried. I think it's really, really good. And the coconut rice is so good. It's like one of the best things to eat with fish. If you're in Medellin, then you're gonna ask for a bandeja paisa, which is a big plate with sweet plantain, and then it's got rice and beans and eggs, and one thing that's called chicharrón, which is some kind some skin from the pork. And okay, what else? If you go to Bogota, that's a really good one. You can ask for ajiaco, which is a big soup made out of 3 different kinds of potatoes. It's got chicken, it's got corn. It's really, really good. And I guess those are my 3 favorites. Then you can ask for a lot of things, but those are the ones that I like the most.
Okay. And so we have a question from Mrs. Maynard's class, and they are asking why do they cook the whole fish and they don't cook fillets or cut it into fillets first?
I don't know. I actually don't know. Like in some restaurants, you can ask for some I don't know portion of the fish, but normally when you eat it at the coast, it's come right out of the ocean, and they will put the whole fish. Like it's really funny when you see the face and everything. But yeah, actually, some people eat the tail and the fins and everything. They eat everything off fish. So yeah.
And I'll oops, sorry. And I'll add to this for some people that are wondering out there. Many places that you go in the world, fish are usually served whole. I found this all throughout Asia, much of Central and South America. It's kind of a cultural thing in the U.S. to cut it into fillets. So where we may say that's weird that they cook a whole fish, I think more people in the world would say it's weird that we cut it up and you can't even tell it's a fish sometimes when you eat it. So.
It's really funny when you see it though, but yeah.
Okay, great questions coming in. Remember, guys, keep sending your questions into Twitter at #LearnATW. Also, you can send them into the chat at the bottom. And let's see, we have Mrs. Luna's class. Let's go over to their classroom and see if they have any live questions. Hi, guys. Do you have any questions for us? All right. Well, we can't hear them right now. So we are getting some questions in on our chat. So I'll go back to our chat. And let's see. Juliana, we have, let's see. If another live group opens up, we would love to participate. Okay, so I'll let you in Mrs. Hodges' class in 1 second. Have you had any serious damages in your area? So maybe weather damages or earthquakes. Do you have any natural disaster in your areas?
Yeah, well, there's an area really close to where I live. It's like 3 hours away, and it's the coffee area where they grow the coffee, which is very famous in Colombia, the Colombian coffee. And I think it was like 15 to 20 years ago, they had a really bad earthquake, and pretty much the whole city was destroyed. That was a long time ago. I was really little by then, but I remember it was really chaotic, and it was really sad for our country because a lot of people died. It's a good thing that since natural disasters hasn't been in the past years that bad, but I remember that one because that was really, really bad, and a lot of people passed. So yeah, that was really sad.
All right, so we have a new classroom joining in with us. So Mrs. Hodges' class, I'm going to send it over to them. Can you pick a volunteer, introduce your class, and follow it up with a question for Juliana?
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Look up in the camera, you can see where you're at. You see, look, yes, squat. There you go.
This is Spanish 1 class. It's your Hodge. What do you guys do for fun, like traditional sports and stuff?
It's cutting a little bit.
Okay, he said, what do you do for fun, and what are some traditional sports in Colombia?
Okay. Well, for fun, I personally I love going to the movies. I love hanging out with our friends. But in schools, they practice a lot of sports. Actually, soccer is like a big thing in Colombia. We actually call it football because we play with your foot. We don't call it soccer. For us, it's football, and it's a really big thing. Now we also have cycling, BMX, weightlifting. Well, cycling is a big thing. Nairo Quintana, I don't know if you've heard of him. He just won the Tour of Spain. So right now the whole country is all about cycling and about Nairo Quintana. But yeah, those are the main sports. Swimming, we have really good swimmers. And what else? Yeah, those are like the most important ones.
All right, great question, guys. Go ahead. If you have another question in Mrs. Hodges' class, if you'll go ahead and just switch students, we'll go back to you in 1 second. Let's go over to Mrs. Hart's class. Do you guys have another
Still
question?
won't connect to Apple TV, and it's going to run out of battery. This is called troubleshooting. When things don't go the way you want them to, you got to figure it out anyway.
All right. Well, while they are figuring
Because
it
you
out
turned it on.
and getting another student up for a question, I'm going to ask a question that we have on our chat. So Juliana, this question comes from Mr. Martin's classroom. Is pet ownership common? If so, what types of animals? So this is from Ryder from Meadowbrook Elementary in Minnesota. So what are some common pets that you guys have?
Okay, well, I'll say the most common ones are dogs and cats. A lot of people have them. And yeah, it's really, really common. Actually, we have dog walkers. So a lot of people that when they go to work or something and they leave their dogs or cats at home, especially dogs, there's people that comes and takes the dogs for a walk, just like in the States. But yeah, it's really, really common. I actually have one in the floor right above me, and I feel it like every morning when I wake up, I can feel the dog running around the whole apartment, going up back and forth. So yeah, it's like I have him with me.
Do you have any pets?
I don't have any pets. I live in an apartment and I travel a lot. My husband travels a lot too, so we don't have pets because we don't like to leave them alone at home. So yeah, we don't.
All right, awesome. We're going to shoot back over to Mrs. Hodges' class, and then I'll go to Mrs. Hart's class after their question. If you have another student with a question, if you'll get them on cue. Okay, you're live over Mrs. Hodges' class.
Hola.
Buenos dias. We were wondering if you guys have any different dialects there.
Different what?
Dialects.
Okay, like you mean like idioms or something?
Yeah, so a different, so just how like the Southern accent. So when you came to work with me versus someone from up north, right?
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. You can tell when someone is from Medellin. When you live in Medellin, you're called a paisa. When you live in Bogota, they're called rolos, and they have a different accent. Up in the coast, they talk really, really fast, and you barely understand. In like where I live, I remember when I went to the States the first time I worked in a summer camp, and the kids used to tell me, why do you sing when you talk? Because you sound like you're singing all the time. You sound so musical when you're singing, when you're talking. It's just the way we talk. But yeah, if you go to different cities, you're gonna hear different accents and different ways of people talking.
Okay, here's a follow-up question I have, and maybe some of the students over Mrs. Hodges' class may be wondering the same thing. When I travel to different Spanish-speaking countries, how is Colombian Spanish? Is it more formal or informal? So, for instance, when I went to Panama, it was they used more of the tu version, whereas when I was in, say, Costa Rica, they use more of the usted version. So, like, is it more formal or informal Spanish in Colombia?
Well, it actually depends on who you're talking to. Like if you're talking to an older person, if you're talking to your parents, to your friends' parents, you got to be very formal. But if you're talking to your friends, it's going to be really informal. Like it's pretty neutral, but it always depends on who you're talking to. So we actually use usted for someone that's really formal, like you're talking to your boss or you're talking to someone you don't know, to a client, to your in-laws or something like that, you can talk to your friends as tú, or you can refer to them as vos. It's like 3 different ways of referring to people.
Okay. Let's go over to Mrs. Hart's classroom. Do you have another question from a student?
Alondra? Okay, come on up. Come on, honey. We're live. Come on. Quickly. Tell me your name first and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Alondra. What is the most traditional thing you have?
Well, that's actually one of the things I really wanted to talk about, so thank you for asking. I think Brandon has some pictures that we wanted to show you, and that's one of the things that I'm really, really proud of Colombia, especially Medellin. So I'm going to talk about the flower fair. Thank you for asking, because I was so waiting for that. So Brandon, can we show them? Yeah, that. I want you to see this, and I'm kind of gonna talk to you about it, but I want you to see the pictures first. This is the Silleteros parade. It's something really, really traditional in Medellin. It comes from our ancestors, and it's been for about 60 years. So we have this special area, these farms that you're seeing right now. They're like an hour away from the city, and they grow flowers. Flowers are one of the main products in Colombia, one of the things that we export, especially to places like to countries like the United States.
Juli.
And they grow flower parade. Yeah.
Juliana, are they dropping flowers from a helicopter right here?
Yeah, that's right when the parade starts. So just stop that for a minute and I'll tell you. The flowers you were seeing before, they grow the flowers during the whole year. And then on August, they design these really cool things. They're called silletas. And people take them in their bags. It's actually to remain when their ancestors used to bring flowers to the city to sell the flowers. So they used to walk all the way from there to the city to sell them on the market. And those things weighed a lot. So before they brought people in it, right now we only have the, it's a, I don't know, commemorative thing, I guess. So when the parade starts, you can see the helicopters dropping flowers, and then you start seeing, first they're gonna come the kids. So what they have in their bags, they're called silletas. It's the wooden boxes, and they fill them with flowers. So they have 4 categories, and one of them you can put the flowers in the order that you want. The other ones you design actual things. You have to have natural. You cannot dye the flowers. You cannot put anything else that's not flowers in it. And they have like awards for that. And you can see the kids. Then you're gonna see juniors, and then you're gonna see senior citizens, which are actually pioneers, people that used to carry them from a long time ago. And these are the final silletas. So they can weigh up to 100 kilos. That's a lot. And they carry them in their bags. It's a big parade. A lot of people participate, and it's really, really beautiful. So that's one of the things that we're really, really proud about. They have really good messages. They have peace messages. They have things for the kids. And they have a category that's commercial. So for the sponsors, that's the last one. But the first ones are, you can see right there, they're being helped by the scouts, because sometimes they get really, really heavy and the weather is really hot. So it's really hard for them to carry. But it's an honor, and that's the beautiful thing about the whole parade, that it is a big honor for them to carry the silletas, and they pretty much don't like to be helped, because they feel like it's very, very important for them to go walking the whole parade. You can see the dogs with the silletas as well. So it's really beautiful. That's one of the traditions that we actually are most proud about.
That's great. And you said some of these weigh up to 100 kilos?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that one, for example, that can weigh 100 and 110 kilos.
Wow, so 100 or 110 kilos. So if you guys are not familiar with the metric system, so a kilo is about 2.2 pounds, I believe, off the top of my head, around about there. So you can do the math. So we're talking over 200, 250 pounds here that you're carrying on your back of flour. So that's pretty amazing. Let's see, we're getting in some questions. And so let's see, do you have any famous athletes? So that comes from Mrs. Wilbank's class. Who's the most famous athlete right now in Colombia?
Well, as I was saying before, Nairo Quintana just won the cycling tour in Spain, so he's a big thing. And gold medalist Mariana Pajon, she's the BMX queen around the world. So she's pretty young, and she's an inspiration for every school, every kid, every young person that wants to go on a sport. She's a really nice person, so everybody loves her in the country.
Right, and let's see, Mr. Martin's class asks, who is your president? Who is your president, and what are the relations like with the U.S. currently?
Okay, right now our president is Juan Manuel Santos, and we've had along the years like really good relations with the U.S. government. For example, if you want to get the visa, well, it's complicated. You have to do a lot of paperwork, but normally, if everything is okay, if you have your documents in order, if you're telling the truth about everything, if you're doing all your paperwork in time, then you get the visa. And like, yeah, for example, it's easy for us to travel to the States. Once you get your visa, it's really, really easy to travel and to go back and forth. So yeah, we have pretty good relations.
And let's see, we have another question from Mrs. Wilbank's class. Are there any fields, or such as grapes, oranges, almonds, or pears? So what are some of the things you produce besides flowers? You said coffee. Is there any other big types of fruits or any other products that you produce?
Yeah, we do produce a lot of coffee, bananas, emeralds. We produce flowers. I don't know if you've ever tried the golden berries. That's a really it's an exotic thing, and we send them to other countries. It's like small berry, and it's yellow, and it's kind of bitter. It tastes a little bit like like passion fruit, but really, really tiny. It's really good, and if you mix it with chocolate, then that's delicious. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back over to Mrs. Hodges' class.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have another question?
So excited.
Okay, so we're wondering how like school differs there from here, like how the school day is different. How would that be?
Okay, what's your typical school hours?
Okay, normally, well, it depends on the school because we have calendar A and calendar B. So if you're a calendar B, it works pretty much like in the States. So you start your school year in August, and then from then on. And if you're a calendar A, then your school year starts in January. You have the long vacation period during the summer. What for you is the summer. Then you start again in August, and then you have another vacation period by the end of the year, and you end your current year, you end it in November. And as for the schedule, they normally start at 7:30 in the morning up to 2, 3 in the afternoon, pretty much. They get yep.
And how many classes in one day did you take when you were in school?
Well, that was a while ago. But normally I had like 3 classes in the morning, then I had a short recess, then I have 2 more classes, then lunch break, and then was it 2 more classes, I guess? It all depends on the school, because normally some schools you don't have lunch break because you take the whole class and then you go out for lunch at home. So if you end up by 2, then you're gonna have lunch at home and you have just a recess. It's gonna be 45 minutes, and then you have 4 classes in the morning and then 4 classes after recess, and then 2 small recesses in between.
Right. And I'm gonna ask another follow-up question. At your school that you went to, was it common for students to bring their own lunch to school, or did your school make lunch for the students?
Well, when I was in school, we normally took our lunch. As I said, I didn't have lunch at school, so I normally take I don't know, in the morning a sandwich and a little bit of a snack and a drink. But then I will have lunch when I get home, which was about 2:30 or something. So I didn't take lunch. But nowadays, schools have changed a little bit, and kids do take lunch at school. Like my niece, for example, she is really little. She goes to school and she takes lunch at school. So you can choose if you want to buy it at school or if you want to take it from home. That's up to you and your parents.
All right. And just a reminder, so we have a question I'm going to ask from Mrs. Maynard's class next. Before that, if you are watching, that means from the outside, it means you're not on camera. If you want to come in and ask live questions, just let me know in the chat and I'll let you in. But our question coming in is, are sports affiliated with the school? So for instance, do you have school soccer teams or football teams? And if you do you have like practice after school or on weekends? Like, how does that all work?
Okay, yeah, we do. A lot of schools have different leagues and sports, and they practice. You can practice during sports hours, but they also have extra hours, and yeah, that would be after school. If you really want to like train really hard for something, like besides your regular sports class, but you actually want to train and you want to like be part of a team or something, yeah, you'll have to take extra classes for that, and that's normally after school.
All right, and let's go back over to Mrs. Hodges' class. And do we have another question lined up?
We sort of have a follow-up question. Why are there 2 different schedules for the schools? Like the A schedule and the B schedule?
Okay, well, I guess a long time ago or a couple of years ago, we only had calendar A, which was like the way our schools normally work. As I said, from January till June, then you have break, then from August to November. But since a lot of the schools right now are doing some interchange and some association with Cambridge and with some schools in the States, in Canada, and other countries around the world, we have changed some of our schools to calendar B. So they work pretty much on the same schedule as you guys. So we can do a lot of interchange, and some of our students can go to your schools and vice versa. So yeah, a lot of schools are doing that just to have a more international possibilities for our kids.
Great, awesome. And just to piggyback on that, there are a lot of schools around the world. I used to teach in South Korea, and they were on more of a calendar year schedule as well. So it didn't really match up with the U.S. school year. So that's a great idea for the exchanges. I like that. I'm going to ask a question that's just sent into us. After that, we're going to play our in-show quiz on Kahoots. Now, if you've never done this with us before, you can play as an entire classroom, or you can play if you're a one-to-one class and you have your own devices, you can play as individual students. Some of these questions we have talked about the answers. Some of them we have not. They're personal questions from Juliana. So if you were paying attention and you're a good guesser, the important thing is if you win, Juliana has graciously said she will send the winner a postcard from Colombia. So how cool is that? Before we jump in there though, let's see, Mrs. Luna's classroom asked, what is the best place to visit in Colombia? So if we're coming to Colombia, we can only go to one place. What's your number one recommendation?
Gosh. Well, Colombians are really, really proud of our country. So I will have to say there are many, many places you have to go. But it depends on the kind of tourist you are. If you want to see something really cultural, I will say you have to go to the coffee area. So Armenia, Manizales, that's where the whole coffee is grown and the whole process of the coffee is. If you like a little bit of the ocean and things like that, I will have to say you have to go to Cartagena because it's a really, really beautiful city. You get a lot of cruises and you get the ocean, the old town, the new city. And if you want to see the city, how people live, you want to see a city with great weather, then you have to come to Medellin because we love our city and we're really, really good hosts.
All right, so we're going to play our in-show quiz now. We do have some time after, but we want to go ahead and play so that any classrooms that do have to leave early, that they can go ahead and have an opportunity to play before they leave. So don't go anywhere afterward. We still have a little bit of time to ask more questions to Juliana afterwards. Right now, if you want to play our in-show quiz, if you'll navigate to kahoot.it, that's kahoot.it. And I'm sharing the screen now. The code for today's game is 598034. Again, that's 598034. When you put in your nickname, remember this can be seen publicly, so make sure it is appropriate. And if you've never played Kahoot before, the way it's going to work is look up at your screen in your classroom. You will not see the answers down on your iPad or tablet or whatever you're playing with. So you must look up at the screen for the questions and answers. You get more points for answering correctly quickly. So the quicker you answer correctly, the more points you will get. So I'm going to give you one more minute to sign in. 30 seconds. That was a quick 30 seconds. Again, that's 598034. 598034. And let's turn the music on. All right, we're going to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Juliana's favorite chocolate bar is it Snickers, Mars bar, Jumbo bar, or Colombo bar? All right, the correct answer was Jumbo bar. What is the Jumbo bar, Juliana?
It's right here. I actually have it right here. You can have it in a bar, or you can have the bubbles, which are this. The Jumbo bar is pretty much chocolate and peanuts, but it's really, really good. And if you have it in a bubble, it's chocolate and it's got some kind of caramel on the inside, so we call it arequipe. And it's some kind of, I believe in other parts of Latin America, it's called dulce de leche. But it's really, really good and melted on the inside. So if you ever come to Colombia, you gotta try this.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump back onto our Kahoot. So look back down at your Kahoot game. And next question. The most popular sport in Colombia is football, American football, baseball, or rugby? All right, so if you answered football, you're correct. Everyone was correct. We're all winners this time. So remember, to the rest of the world, football is not American football. Sorry, Tom Brady, Broncos fans. Okay, so Alexa is currently in the lead, but not by much. Mr. Martin's class is right behind. Good job, guys. How many languages does Juliana speak? How many languages does Juliana speak? 1, 2, 3, or 4? All right, she speaks 3 languages. What languages do you speak, Juliana?
I speak Spanish, I speak English, and I speak Portuguese.
All right. Great
I'm
job.
actually
So Alexa is still in the lead. Great job. Two more questions. Colombia is the only South American country that has coastlines on these two oceans: the Indian and Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic and Arctic Ocean, the Southern and Atlantic Ocean, or the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. All right, so it is the Atlantic and Pacific, and more specifically, the Caribbean Sea within the Atlantic. All right, Kenny 3 has jumped up into the lead. Great job, Kenny 3. And make sure you answer them quickly because our last question is starting now. What country is Juliana from? Check out your spelling here. Colombia or Colombia? All right, so Colombia spelled with an O, not a U. And Kenny comes from behind to win. Great job, Kenny. So if you are, Zach was right behind him, and then Cameron. So if you are Kenny's teacher, make sure you email me your school address so I can give that to Juliana after the show. And you can be on the lookout for a postcard from Colombia. How cool is that? So we have some more time left, and we're here to answer questions as long as Juliana wants to hang around with us. But we do have a little bit more time. So we have a question from, let's see.
Brandon.
Yes.
The last question was really, really important, that we
Okay.
have a whole campaign around it. Because normally, like every time I travel to the States, people will say, oh, you're from Colombia. I've heard a lot of Colombia things. Well, it's not Colombia, it's Colombia with the no. And I've actually had my t-shirt, see, it's Colombia, not Colombia. So I hope you guys remember that. That's one very, very big difference. It's Colombia with the no.
All right. I learned that the hard way a long time ago from Juliana, so I never say it with a U anymore. So while we are going through our questions, let's go ahead and jump back over to Mrs. Hodges' classroom. So do you guys have another question for Juliana?
Introduce yourself. Okay. Hi. Hola. I am Alexa. Me llamo Alexa. I was wondering, how many times have you visited the States, if you ever have?
Oh, wow. Okay. Hola, Alexa, ¿cómo estás? Yeah, I have visited the States. The first time I did it when I was 6 years old. And since then, I've traveled many, many times to the States. I've been lucky enough to travel around the East Coast. Next week, I'm actually going to the West Coast, which is pretty exciting for me. I used to work at summer camps when I was 20 years old. I went for the first time, and I worked in the States for 4 summers in a row. So yeah, I've been there many times, and because of my work, I get to travel a lot. So normally I go 4 or 5 times a year to the States.
All right. And Mrs. Wilbanks, let me know in the chat if your camera doesn't work, but you want to ask a question via audio. Just let me know. I don't see your camera working at the moment. Okay, so we have a question that just came in from Mrs. Maynard's class. What's your occupation? So what do you do? Why do you come to the US a lot?
Well, I work with tourism. I work with the travel agency, and pretty much since I like to work a lot with teenagers, and my whole life I've been related to kids and teenagers, I get to work with the teenagers department at the travel agency. So normally I design programs for youth, for schools, for field trips. And the main thing I do is in Colombia, well, in Latin America in general, but especially in Colombia, when a girl turns 15, It's called a quinceañera. It's something like the Sweet 16 in America. But we throw either like a big party, or your parents will give you a trip to go with other girls that are also turning 15, and they go to a travel agency and design the program so they can travel to different countries and do a lot of fun stuff. So pretty much what I do is that I design those programs. I got to do sales and marketing, and I'm lucky enough to travel with the girls as well. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
All right. So we have another question from Mrs. Let's see, Wilbank's classroom. So someone asks, is there any drug issues in your area or your city? So.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, yes. As you guys know, well, I think it's a problem that we have all around the world. But yeah, we've had really difficult times about that matter. We used to have a lot of issues in the past. We've been growing a lot from that. We've been learning a lot from that process as a country. And we've implemented a lot of, I don't know, mechanisms and things for school to prevent all kinds of things. Yeah, unfortunately, that's a problem that runs in the country.
Right, and I can just jump on there and say, like, I know this is like and this is one thing we see on the news from, if you're inside the U.S., you know, we like, it's kind of like if a shark attack happens, you know, you see it all over the news, and there's always a big news about, you know, if it's the war on drugs or whatnot. But I think, unfortunately, we don't always look in. There's I don't think people realize how dangerous the U.S. is sometimes. I felt a lot safer outside the U.S. at times.
The thing
okay.
is, I think the most important thing is that we learn from those things, and we overcome our difficult times. And I guess that's the main thing around the world, that you just have to learn from the past, learn from things that are not so good, and look forward to improve and grow as a whole different thing.
Right. And so they had a follow-up question along those lines. Is kidnapping really a serious problem, or is that just one of those things that just gets a lot of news from whenever it happens?
Yeah, as Brandon was saying, I guess the news, just like I studied journalism, and when I went to school, one of the things that they used to tell us is you have to be objective. You have to tell the truth as it's happening, but you normally don't try to make things bigger. Unfortunately, when you live in another country, especially you guys who live in the States, you get massive information about those things, but you don't get enough information about some other things. So you just believe that that's the whole thing, that's all what is happening about. But I mean, it happens, yes, but it's not like the whole problem, like the whole city is like that, or if you're walking in the streets, it's going to happen to you. Now, it's just an overexpose of really bad information that leaves aside the good things that happen. So that's the only thing you're actually seeing.
All right, let's go over to Mrs. Hodges' classroom. Do you guys have another question?
Yes.
I'll ask.
Wait. Hold on.
Hang on.
Sorry. Oh, never mind.
Do you have any more like big social issues?
Okay. Yeah, I guess as every other country, we do get issues like poverty. We have a lot of underprivileged people, and it's really hard for them. It's really hard for us to have a lot of people that don't get the same opportunities. We have an area up in the north coast in La Guajira, which is, if you see the map, it's right on top of our country. It's a big desert, and there's not enough water getting there. So we have a lot of kids that are actually, it's really hard to get there, and they're really, really poor. It's really hard to get water and food and everything, because they're really like up in the desert, and it's really dry season for them. So yeah, that's a big issue right now. Like we are having a lot of issues taking water to the Guajira kids.
Do you guys have any climate change related issues with your weather patterns? Do you notice anything, or is anything in the news a lot about it?
Yeah, it's really funny. Like as I said before, we don't have seasons, but we do get really either dry seasons or rainy seasons. Like for example, last year we had a season that was raining a lot, like a lot during a whole 2, 3, 4 months. It started raining, and then we had a really, really dry season. So we are a country that lives a lot from agriculture, and if you don't get in the weather like it normally is, if you don't get a little bit of rain, a little bit of sun, then every product that we grow ends up just messed up. So that's a really, really big problem. Like for example, now it's starting to rain. I was telling you this morning, it's starting to rain a lot. And it says that it's going to rain for about 2 or 3 months, and it's going to be raining a lot. So that's pretty bad, because everything that needs a little bit of sun, it's going to be messed up. So yeah, those are like the extremes, but it's not all the time, but it happens. Last year was really crazy.
All right, so we're winding down our hour. So if you are live here with us, we have a couple more questions. I know, don't go anywhere. I'm going to wrap up our recording for future viewing. So I would like to thank Juliana for joining us. And if you would like to participate in a future Meet a Local guest speaker talk or a virtual field trip, go to learnaroundtheworld.com and you can sign your class up then. Until next time, I'm GOB, and keep exploring.